All right, welcome everyone. I hope you guys are excited for our final presenter. He's a former rock radio DJ turned physical therapist who nearly dropped out of PT school because he felt like a misfit. He flipped his career over 180 degrees when he remixed his former and future careers into a network of podcasts that have been heard more than 2.5 million times in over 171 countries. He's been called the Jimmy Fallon of physical therapy by his mom, and his goal is to connect the profession by sharing amazing insight, remarkable ideas, and motivational stories over a beer. So let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Jimmy McKay by hitting that like button, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
And look at that, Nakaya with the killer intro. Well done. Pat, thank you so much for having us. And I wanted to say thanks to yourself, Carrie, and like 70 or something students in your school who helped put this on. So that's awesome.
Yeah, our entire third year cohort helped us out. It's 48 of us total, and we worked hard to put this on for our first and second year cohort with the help of our faculty and staff.
Wow. So hold on a second. So just so this audience knows, and we're seeing the students from Lynchburg University come in, as we can see the numbers go up in the live stream. And yeah, just drop a like or a heart, whatever. Just let us know you're there. Drop your name and that you're a student at Lynchburg, just so we can see who's in the stream right now. You completely pivoted. I mean, this is something that you do at Lynchburg, like everybody else on campus, and you pivoted. And just for the audience out there knowing, you took all the same, a half a day's worth of speakers and several rooms going on at once.
Right.
You did this all virtually yourselves.
All virtually ourselves.
Wow. Yeah, boom shakalaka. You got a boom shakalaka there.
Yeah, this is the first time it was ever done, and we were very nervous and how we're going to coordinate all this, but we were able to do it, and I'm so proud of the class of 2021 for helping and putting this all together. Also, by the way, doing work and being a student. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Probably on top of that. Especially in the midst of a pandemic. Yeah. During a pandemic. So cheers to you there. We're seeing some people sign on. So cheers. We're going to bring you out of the frame for just a second, but you hang tight and we'll bring you back. So we'll get this thing started. Okay. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it, Nakaya. Thank you. All right, let's do this thing. So hi, hey guys, how we doing? I'm Jimmy McKay, as Nakaya mentioned. I used to be a rock radio DJ. Now I'm a physical therapist, who then became a physical therapist radio DJ? I have no idea. I'm just as confused as you. So here's how today's going to go. It is very virtual, but I had Nakaya, I had Carrie ask you guys what you wanted out of a presentation like this. And overwhelmingly, the theme was interactivity. I can do that. We can do that, but only if the I and the we come together. So below, questions or comments anytime during the show, the performance, not really a performance, it's really just me talking, that you want to know something or that you agree with something, hit that like, that heart. That always lets us know that, hey, we're on to something I would like to see more of. That's the way you interact with the show. Later on, we are actually going to bring some of you with the magic of the internet on the screen, just like we had Nakaya. At the end, we're going to do Q&A, and it can be specific about you. This is why I like this platform of Facebook Live and Periscope on Twitter. We can make the questions and answers be so specific about you. We can actually aim small and miss small. So if you have a question or comment, if it's a good one, if we think that we can get a lot of value out of your question and the answer, feel free to comment there, and we'll put you on screen. Just make sure you're wearing pants or whatever the school dress code is. Just make sure you're doing that. So let's get underway. The first rule is, so my degree is in journalism and mass communication. I would say rule number one for anything is KYA. Know your audience, not a different version of KYA. It's know your audience. So I want you to actually take out your cell phone or open a different tab right now, okay? And I want you to go to that website on the top there, menti.com, menti.com. You can see it on the screen if you're watching a live stream. Go to menti.com, menti.com, and use that code on the screen, 941443. Punch that in, and we're going to do a little interactive game. This is what I was talking about in terms of when Nakaya and Carrie asked me to speak. They said the students would like it to be really interactive. They've been watching and listening and been in receive mode all day long. So I wanted to make sure we had the icebreaker. I wanted to know a little bit more about you. So the first question is this thing on? Like, are we going to be interactive or not? See, some of you like to ruin polls, as do I. I like that too. So we're seeing the answers on the screen. You're going to see how this flow works. I'll ask a question, you guys answer. I'm seeing 135 people in the stream right now, and I can see in the bottom right-hand corner, 33 people have answered. So yeah, you get this. I'm going to keep talking until you guys actually interact. I'm going to force you
Get out of that shell and interact. So go to menti.com and use that code on the top of the screen, 941443, and we can actually do some interactivity. One person, no, it's not on. You're actually, by actually saying no, but I see what you're doing there. You're trying to be the one person who says, I'm going to answer no. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mess with this guy. So we're seeing this get over 100. Now we'll move on. So now you see how this works. I want to get to know you. Rule number 1 in communications or in physical therapy, make sure you know your audience. I want to know Lynchburg and the people watching right now. So that's what I'm doing with you. Let's go to the second question. Here it is. Oh man, the professors all just got nervous. The Lynchburg PT program is fill in the blank. We can go anywhere. We can't figure out who said what. Yes. Okay. Yes. The Lynchburg program is, I don't know. Amazing. Awesome. Cool. We're seeing amazing with several M's. So we're seeing that. Good. We gave the exact location in case you wanted to send them something from Amazon. A family. Ooh, see, I like the out of the box answers. Extraordinary. What do you think about your own program? What is it about your program that you like? How would you describe it to somebody else? As we're doing Get to Know Lynchburg here on the game, we're seeing 50 people interact so far. It's above 60. A few seconds left before we move on. This is what I want to know. I like this. This Wordle is getting good. Fantastic. The best. Expensive. One of you is commenting on the cost. Welcome to the profession, everybody. Does it get expensive? Innovative. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So, all right, good work. That's the Wordle about you guys. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to get more personal about you. Let's describe your world in one word. Describe 2020 in one word. How would you do that? Just L. Yeah, different. I think different is probably a good response. Here's the interactivity part. This will only be as good as you interact. A mess. I would actually throw a hot mess on there and really qualify that. Painful. It feels like just a complete year of Mondays. Roller coaster. Hectic. Well, this question really got him. I'm watching Nakaya interact too and off screen, and she's like, yeah, a disaster. And the more you mention the same word, you know how a Wordle works, the word will get bigger. So several of you said nightmare, chaos, crazy. We're starting to see that in the center of the screen as we run out of time here. A couple more seconds to get that in there. Describe 2020 in one word. We're seeing chaos and crazy being the winners right there. Okay, let's talk more. After I graduate, I will practice in the blank setting. I want to know what you guys are looking to do. Again, I'm trying to figure out what my audience is into. We're seeing neuro, outpatient, a cost-effective. I don't know what cost-effective is, but I like the way that sounds. I want to get to know the audience. This is Communications 101. When Nakaya and Carrie asked me to speak, we did a meeting. We did a Zoom meeting, and I was kind of reading what they were looking for. Watching for body language. Nakaya comes in very, very serious and professional. So kudos to her. If she can get any extra credit, I want to make sure she does. But I wanted to find out more about you guys because I'm going to be talking about my story, but how can it relate to you? So on the screen here, a lot of you guys, neuro, outpatient, ortho, a good mix. And I like the one in the bottom left-hand corner. No idea. That was me too. And that's okay. I love when people are honest and they don't fill in the blank with something. Notice how I didn't give you like a drop down, like pick one of these. It could be anything you want. No idea is very, very valid. As we round out this question, there are a few seconds to get your answers in after I graduate. I'll practice in what setting. And that's it. I like the randomness of that, and it was a little all over. Good. That's what I like to see. Let's do this one. 5 years from now, the world will be. We figured out what your 2020 was. Roller coaster, chaotic, just a year full of Mondays. In 5 years, what will it be? Different, no idea. Yeah, I see what you're doing there. You're just reiterating the theme. Hopefully mask-free. Better than 2020. Drowning in Doritos. I don't know what that is, but I wouldn't mind swimming in Doritos myself. Lit, because you'll all be PTs. Yes, that's what I want. I want optimism as we get to know you guys. We're seeing it still in chaos 5 years from now. Who knows? Not me. COVID-free. I like that as we get above 45. Let's do this in a few more seconds. I like that better. I'm seeing optimism mixed with confusion. That's what I'm reading from this as I just look across. All right, we've got just a few more questions. I want to find out a little bit more about you as we wrap out. So far today, specific to the Lynchburg Symposium, so far today, I learned, it's supposed to have an I in there. That's my error. I learned. What did you learn? What did you learn so far today at the Lynchburg Symposium? A lot of speakers. Still hates technology. Technology's great when it works. Learn tons how to be a better practitioner. Load plans. I dipped in on that conversation. Also listened to Gary Austin. Some financial advice with Joe Ranke. Always practical and tactical. A new system device to take polls. This is called Mentimeter. Somebody likes to know that they look good on camera. You're getting the idea here. As we wrap up, we're seeing this is more about you. So far, you learned that travel PTs make bank. That is true. That is true right now. One of our sponsors is a travel PT organization. I'll save the plugs for later. As we're done there, I eat like garbage. Yeah, I think I've known that about myself for a while, but you got to clean that up. So you got to know about yourself too, as we learn about the audience. And the final question really is, when Jimmy is done yammering on, I hope to feel what? This is going to set up drunk. I don't know. You have to BYOB, guys. We're in my bedroom right now. I can't help you get there. Inspired, hype about PT, encouraged, enlightened, relaxed. You want to study for finals. Less hungry. You can eat during this presentation. That is completely allowed. Just don't get any crumbs on the floor. I just vacuumed. Seeing some energized and enlightened. That was sort of the other response we got from the survey that was sent around. As we see more than 40 of you guys chiming in. They want to feel free. Honesty is the best policy, guys. That's the best policy. So we're going to get into it now. So thank you guys so much for taking part in that. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate you. So let's start. So as Nikaya so eloquently put in my introduction that I wrote for myself, my mom has called me the Jimmy Fallon of physical therapy. Didn't know what that meant. I was a radio DJ, did the morning announcements in 6th grade. And the minute I did that, I've said this before, is all the hair on my arm stood up. I was 11 or 12, so I had like 1 or 2 hairs, but they all stood up, all of them in unison. And I was just so excited. I went home and said, Mom, I figured out what I want to do. She said, what is it? I said, I want to do the morning announcements. And she said, that's not a career. You have to go to college to figure out how to be a broadcaster. So I did that. In school, I got a degree in journalism and mass communication. Focused on radio broadcasting, had an opportunity to do some internships in some really large markets. New York City, which is known as radio market number 1, because it's the biggest smattering of people in the country. I got a chance to work for a pop station called 95.5 PLJ. On my very first day, got to meet famous people. I met like Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid, rest in peace. Met Olivia Newton-John. I know some of you have known it. Grease, think the original Grease. But I got to interact on such a large stage with this thing that I wanted to do, which is radio. I also got to work in a really, really small radio station for a summer. And at first, I didn't think I was going to like that at all. But I wound up learning more because I got a chance to do more, an opportunity to put my hands on more things. At the bigger radio stations, I was handing out T-shirts and carrying boxes and, kind of being the grunt, which was fine. I wanted to learn. But at the smaller radio station, I actually got handed a microphone in week 2. Like, you're going to go on the air. And while that petrified me, that's what I was there for. So I went with it. And then my final internship, as comes up in discussion, I had a chance to work for a radio station called WXRK in New York City. And that summer I was there was the last summer ever that a guy by the name of Howard Stern was the morning show host. So I actually got to be in the building with him, but really his team were all amazing at doing this thing, whatever this weird radio thing that I wanted to do at what I considered the highest level. Every day those guys came in and those women came in and they did such a great job that I just kind of stood there in awe and learned a ton from that world. So, that was kind of what I was going to do. Got a job working for my hometown radio station after I graduated. And then this was actually my life. Like, I hope some of you guys know, if anybody can tell me who the band is here, that's me, the goofy guy with no hair on the right. I would love to look in the comments and see if there's any rock music fans out there. If anybody actually knows who that band is, bonus points somehow. But this was my day. I got a chance to talk to people every day, play rock music real loud. I wore a Guns N' Roses t-shirt to work. Drew Turner knows who that is. That's Foo Fighters. So Dave Grohl in the middle used to be the drummer for Nirvana. Now he's the frontman for Foo Fighters. Chris Shiflett on my left there giving me some sort of angry point. And Taylor Hawkins, the drummer, is trying to hide from me for some reason. But that was my day. That is not Nickelback. I'm very sorry. Although they do have a lot of hits. That is the Fighters of Foo. As Josh Alexander, also not Nickelback, common theme. But I got to go to work every single day and do really what I loved. And I did that for close to 15 years and interacting with not just rock stars, which was really, really fun, but it wasn't what I was doing every day. But loved every single minute of it until one day I didn't. This is part of the story that I typically pause because like you can get really, really nervous and really, really thrown off when you think that this is what you want to do for the rest of your life, and then you realize it isn't. And I had worked to get to a position at a radio station where I got to go on the air. And I was also the program director. So it was like being a clinic director. So I got to pretty much do like whatever I wanted. And I didn't love it anymore. And I got really, really nervous. And I thought, man, I could probably just stay here in this radio station for the rest of my career and just kind of hide and get by. But, you know, every couple of weeks, that gets a little bit harder to do each time. So happened to be training for my first Ironman triathlon and met a PT and loved everything about this guy's vibe. He just kind of knew everything about why people got injured. You know, cyclists would go and say, hey, you know, my hip or my knee or my foot. And this PT just had such a great manner about him and saying, tell me more, gathering information, building rapport. And when the cyclists or the runners or the swimmers would leave talking to this PT, this guru guy, I literally could see their posture was different. They were just like, oh man, like this guy listened to me. He gave me one or two things I could really understand and go do on my own and try. And they almost walked away a little bit taller. And I'm just watching this over the weeks of training with this guy. And I'm like, man, what do you do? Because the experience of people interacting with you, like I want to have that. I used to have that in my career. I changed. The career might have changed too, but I was really scared. I was like, oh my God, if I have to keep doing this for the rest of my life, I'm going to go nuts. And here I am watching this guy, across a parking lot at a cycling group, and he's literally doing this thing. I don't know what it was. So I asked him, I go, hey man, what's your deal? Like, how do I like do what you do? And he literally fight clubs me. He literally is like, hey, honestly, it's going to be way too long. It's going to be a lot of school. It's a lot of money. I know you as like the local goof radio DJ. Like, honestly, like just look for something else. And I listened to him and I went away. I was like, yeah, he's probably right. This guy knows what he's talking about. A couple weeks later, I'm still watching. I'm still digging it. I go back again. Hey man, so no, I'm going to ask again. I'm considered. I want to do it. I just want to be like kind of what you do. And he's like, nah, man, did it again. Shut me down. Third time we're riding. So, 15, 18 miles an hour. And I'm like, I'm serious. I want to do it. And finally he's like, okay. A&P 1. I got a local professor friend. You go take that class. I'll get you in. It's past the deadline. You go take that class. You tell me what you think, and we'll see if you're in the right spot. So he's still kind of fight clubbing me. And after week 1 of the class, we're biking again, and he goes, how's A&P? And I go, dude, I learned all the things that have to happen every time a muscle contracts. Every time. And it blew my mind. And he goes, you're in the right spot. So he fight clubbed me not because he wanted to keep me out of the profession, but he wanted to see if I really, really wanted it. So hung up the headphones, put the microphone away, applied to PT schools, luckily got in, went to PT school at Marymount University in Arlington, Virginia, another VA school. And I was done with radio as I thought, and dove into year 1 and, just tried to not fail out pretty much. Year 2, I went to something that you guys were experiencing today, which is that symposium. This was in person, and we've all been in those rooms before, right? I'm just so excited. I was wearing a tie that day. I'm in my bedroom, which is why I'm not wearing a tie right now. But I was excited to learn, and I'm in a room full of 1,000 people. And I'm digging what the people on stage are saying. I'm liking it, but I'm like a second-year student. So like half the things they're saying are just going past me. I'm like, all right, I'm going to Google that later. I'm going to write that down. I don't even know how to spell that. And I dug it, but the presentation was over and I was like, I didn't raise my hand because you're not really going to do that in a 1,000-person room. But I felt like I missed an opportunity to figure out something I wanted to know more about. Fast forward a few hours for the networking hour, which is code for happy hour, in the bar, and there I am, 2 or 3 pints deep, and the woman and the man who were on stage talking about tactical athletes were 2 or 3 people down at the bar, and I was like, I paid like $200 to come here, drove all the way here, paid for gas, paid for these beers. I am going to learn something before I leave this room, or else. and walked up and said, hey, listen, I saw you guys on stage, loved your presentation, love what I felt. I'm a second-year student, and I didn't understand everything you were talking about, which in hindsight is not a great way to introduce yourself by saying, I didn't understand your presentation. But they understood what I was saying. 15, 20 minutes later, they said, come on over here, we'll explain everything. And we went through pretty much their entire presentation, and I understood everything. None of their concepts were over my head. The way they were giving them in that big conference room was. But this wasn't a presentation. This was a conversation. And that's when a little light went on in my head. I'm like, oh, I do conversations. I've done conversations for 15 years. I know, or I had the ability, or I was lucky enough to have the training to take people who had something great to say that they were passionate about, like Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters, and figure out how to get that out succinctly to an audience who wanted to know more. I saw myself as that middleman, and I was excited about it. I felt like something, kind of like really charged me up. And on the way back from the conference in North Carolina, drive back to Virginia, I popped the idea to some classmates like, hey, I'm going to do a podcast. And they're like, that is an awful idea. Because probably a little bit of their insecurities, but they couldn't see it. They couldn't hear it. So anyway, I pushed through. I had a professor who was amazing and really pushed me out of the nest and was like, not only should you do this, but I'll help you do this. I launched a podcast with 6 episodes and we get 10,000 downloads the first month. No idea how that happened, but I'm having fun and learning something in every single episode. Like today, getting to interact with people who are passionate about something and they know something that I don't. And I see that as an opportunity for me to get that information to myself. And if I record it or we use these things, you can come along too and learn something. So kept the podcast going through PT school. But here's the thing. When you guys listed all those different areas of PT that you want to go into, that I don't know one that I pointed out, that was me. And even though I was having success in this podcast, in the world of PT, I still had no idea where I was going to go. In fact, I walked into my program director's office and I was like, how much money can I save if I quit right now? And she kind of figured out I was serious. And I was like, everybody else in the classroom is so set and they just know, and I have no idea where I'm going to go. And that just scares the crap out of me. And she got real serious, which is weird because she wasn't really a serious person. And she's like, I understand what your fear is. She spoke my fear out loud, which actually reduced my anxiety. I understand that you're afraid. We will find something for you. We don't know where and when it'll be, but it'll happen. And literally my anxiety went from I will quit right now to, okay, I'll stick around long enough. So we find inspiration in some unique places. Let me see if I get the right slide up. Well, that was Dave Matthews. That was Sinister Gates. That was my first podcast. Sorry, I'm just flipping through. So here's the logo of this, and I like to point this out randomly. This is pretty much, it was designed by one of my best friends from second grade. So there's my squinty eyes on a pint glass. And what people don't notice is that beer pouring over the top there, that's my widow's peak. So there's a little secret in there. So I like to hide random things in logos and things that we do. And maybe you pick up on those. So what I did do was I connected 2 points that existed independently. Radio and physical therapy doesn't make any sense, right? So it would look so simple, but that's only in hindsight, because when I was doing it, it felt a lot like this. It felt a lot like chaos. I had no idea what I was actually connecting, right? So I still felt lost, even though I was having this great success. I was being asked to speak all over the place. I was getting flown around as a PT student to tell my story, but I still felt lost. And that's when I figured out that real life lessons come unexpectedly. I made up that quote in Costa Rica. So what happened was, in our last semester as PT students, as Gary Austin was talking about today in terms of service opportunities abroad, I had the opportunity to go to Costa Rica and work for 2 weeks in an orphanage. And I still had no idea what I wanted to do. I still felt maybe I'll go back to radio. And I met a young man. We call him G, just the first initial, because he was a patient of ours. And G had muscular dystrophy. He was 18 years old. And to give you the PT version, G had a little bit of wrist motion, a little radial ulnar deviation, little flexion extension, pretty much it. And he had a little bit of rotation of the head. But he sat in a tilt and space chair, completely dependent all day in this orphanage in Costa Rica. And he was the happiest kid you'll ever meet. I don't say that just out of hyperbole, he was the happiest kid you'll ever meet. I mean, he was the happiest kid I had ever met in my life. All he wanted to do was be around friends And this orphanage specialized in, they had PT students come in, PA programs, MD. So this was an area, orphanage that was used to having people come and go. And I worked with them for 2 weeks. And since I'm sure you've covered muscular dystrophy, not a whole lot that I could do in terms of improvement. He was 18 years old. So in fact, at that point, as you probably well know, we were probably just trying to not lose as much as we could. But again, we'd put him on a trampoline and I'd get behind him and just hold him. And you want to talk about the smile, as big as the world. G was just the happiest kid in the world. Liked hanging out with me so much because my Spanish sucked. So he would get me to say things and then laugh at me while everybody else laughed. So I love that about him. So I made a connection in 2 weeks. Still had no idea what I was going to do with my career, but I was like, hey, at least I made a connection with a person. And right after this experience, we're in Costa Rica, the school, smart, they put spring break right there. So we just got an Airbnb with like a pool in the living room, and we just stayed for an extra week because we already paid for the flights there. So first night, everybody's jumping off the roof into the pool. Everybody's having a couple of drinks. And there's me in front of my laptop at 2 a.m. I'm a real party animal, apparently. And I was so mad. I was frustrated because here's why. And I put it into words later on. We left him there no better than we found him. That's how I felt anyway. We left him there no better than we found him. And that drove me nuts. I could feel my skin crawl, knowing that I was still just a couple hours away at this crazy Airbnb with monkeys and a view of the ocean. And he's laying in his bed in an orphanage and I couldn't do anything. And that drove me nuts. So I decided that I was going to do something. So looking at his tilt in space chair, if he were in the United States, he would have had a shot for what's on that screen, which it might be hard to see, but that's like a BMW or a Mercedes of a power wheelchair. That's a Permobile chair, soup to nuts. It's got crazy wheels on it. We got LEDs. We tricked this thing out. But he's in an orphanage in Costa Rica. That's what he deserved right there. What was he going to get? So that's when I saw my two worlds collide. I had this podcast, this fledgling thing. How could I use it to solve G's problem or help him? Keep in mind, he didn't ask for anything, which is another thing I liked. He was wanting for nothing, but I thought he deserved this and I wanted to give it to him. So this was 66 days before graduation that I had made this decision in Costa Rica, a couple drinks in at 2 a.m. with people jumping off the roof into the Airbnb pool. And I literally turned the microphone on and I said, here's G's story. And I need you, if you're listening to me right now, to give me $1. I started a GoFundMe page. I'm like, I need $1, just one. Give me $1. And some people heard it and gave $1. Some more people heard it and gave 5 and 10. We had some people write in and drop $1,000 because we, as you know, or if you don't, these things are terribly expensive. So we raised about $32,000 in 66 days because I was so upset that he wasn't getting what he deserved, we could change his second to second existence because he still had some wrist function. He couldn't even turn himself around independently. So we raised the cash in 66 days. So just before I walked across the stage of graduation, I knew that we had the money to buy him the chair in that picture. The reason I'm sitting in it at the airport in Washington, D.C. is on our first trip down, and I've talked about this with Gary Austin before, sometimes equipment gets lost in customs when you go for lack of a paperwork problem. I knew that I was going to go down there. This Marymount University was flying me to Costa Rica to educate the caregivers on how to use the chair, proper positioning, everything a PT was going to do. But I had 72 hours to do it. So the reason I'm sitting in that chair in Washington, D.C. is to make sure that the paperwork problem didn't happen. So I rode that thing. I got on it in the airport in Washington, D.C. I rode it onto the airplane. I transferred to the chair, and I would not get off the airplane in Costa Rica without the chair. The chair was not leaving my sight. So that's the explanation of why Jimmy is trying to show off that chair. By the way, those things are terribly fun. If you ever want to zip through an airport, I highly recommend it. So delivering the chair now was great. So this is the picture that was actually taken. The moment that he saw me coming up the walkway there, and just big old smile. We put him in the chair, and once we put him in the chair, I said, "What do you think about this?" And through the translator, he's like, "It's great, it's good, great." Like, I was waiting for this big, huge like moment, like Lifetime movie, like, oh, like harps and everything. And just, I was waiting for that. And he was like, it's cool. And then I realized like he just wasn't understanding what this chair was actually going to mean to him. He thought it was another chair. He's had chairs through his life. And that's when his right wrist accidentally flopped to the side when we were positioning him in there, and he nudged the joystick. And I saw his face go dead blank as he was processing. And he says, oh, the chair moves me. And I said through the interpreter, I said, you move the chair. And that's literally when his eyes like kind of spun around like a jackpot, like, I can move the chair. I was like, yes. So we're going to teach you how to do this. We're going to use the joystick. And once he figured out he was able to pilot the chair, I asked, what do you want to do now that you can go anywhere you want? You can go anywhere you want. You haven't been able to do for a long time. And that's his quote right there at the bottom. What a great 18-year-old response. What do you want to do? I want to go see the world. No. Like that's what I thought was going to happen. But it was an even more pure and honest response. I just want to ride. So from a PT perspective, if I were documenting this, I would say patient appeared to be intoxicated heavily in piloting the power chair for the first 15 minutes. The second quarter hour, a little bit off balance, ran into some walls, scraped the chair up pretty good in the first half hour. 45 minutes in, patient powers the wheelchair down a narrow corridor, over a small incline, through a door to seat himself at the seat of a table for lunch. And I literally in my mind just went like this. I'm out. Like we're done. We're educating the caregivers because in a couple hours I gotta go get on a plane. But to me, everything in my career could crash and burn right now. Doesn't matter because this got to happen. So this moment was great. Another moment, sometimes I tell the story with this moment attached to, which was we were just going to tool around, like, hey, figure out the ramps. Like, this is your domain. Like, show me how this works. And he was riding through the hospital on the orphanage campus. And one of the nurses walked by, and my professor, Dr. Venskis, was with me. She was my translator. She's fluent in Spanish. And we're kind of giving him space, right? I want him to go crash into things. I want him to do things because I want to see and show him how to pivot and to fix it. And this nurse walks through the lobby and he says something and she kind of like laughs and walks away. And my professor like puts her face in her and kind of blushes. And I'm like, the American kid who took French in high school going, what just happened? What just happened? And she's like, he's hitting on her. She's an 18-year-old nurse working in the orphanage that he, lives at. And he's an 18-year-old guy and they know each other and he's flirting with her. So you can document all you want about mobility and range of motion and strength and what he's able to do and goals. That is the most distal goal, but should be terribly, terribly important. Patient got an opportunity to flirt. And then she walked back through and was like, it's like, do you want to hop on for a ride? Like, that is a perfect 18-year-old thing to say, but he had no opportunity to say it because he didn't have that tool. So this was us having lunch, and I actually made it through telling the story. I don't know if you could hear it, my voice got a little emotional, but every time I tell this one, it matters. So that's what I wanted to kind of wrap up with, because I didn't know where I fit in physical therapy. And then I realized that if I can merge the two things that I'm really passionate about, the distal goal, like helping people, and if I can do it with the skills that I have, I've got these two worlds that I live in: physical therapy and communications. It's more than how many followers you get or how many downloads you get. What are you going to do with it? I'm not calling anybody out who has, a really large Instagram account. There are a lot of people who give great content. Some people are focused on how many people are following them instead of focusing on what can you do with that? Who are you connecting with and how can you leverage that? So one of my most valuable possessions is a montage of pictures with this one included. It's also a soccer jersey, a football jersey that I bought just on the way out of Costa Rica, because 6 months after that picture was taken, unfortunately, G passed away. And sometimes I tell this part of a story and sometimes I don't. And I don't tell it now to bring the room down or anything, because I was crushed working in clinic that day and got the call from my professor. I was like, this is weird. She's calling me in the middle of the day. She told me the news. We knew that was going to happen. right? Muscular dystrophy. We kind of knew that it was going that way. It was about 6 months, and that one, hit hard. But I give myself 20. You're allowed to sulk for 24 hours, and then you got to get out of bed. And I did that, and we found out that another girl who was completely mobile when we were there in the orphanage was now losing her ability to ambulate safely. She was getting the chair. So a good consolation that I knew I knew they were going to give the chair to someone worthy. But me knowing and having a relationship that for me might psychologically help. So that's my story. And then, past that, I'm now a radio DJ physical therapist. With the help of some people behind the scenes, I get to do interviews of some of the smartest, most passionate people in the profession from around the world. Just yesterday, we interviewed a fresh physio from the UK who became a physio because she got Guillain-Barré syndrome. Like, she thought she had a hangover. Next thing you know, she's intubated. She's on a respirator. And I just hear that and I light up and I go, let's tell this story. And that's where I can kind of live at that intersection of, I would love to tell the story. I'm passionate about it. And I think people have some value out of it. So that's what I get to do with the podcast, known as PT Pintcast, typically over a beer, but today it's club soda because I want to respect Lynchburg. I also get to do that in my day job. I got to actually design my perfect job. I wrote a job description to the CEO of one of the largest geriatric physical therapy practices in the country. And I said, here's 8 things I like to do and do well. Do you know who you should hire? Me. And they did. So I get to help them write articles where a physical therapist is the last person to see an article before it's published to make sure it's legit. We don't use stock photos because they got stock photo. A PT would never actually do that. So that's out. And I get to craft videos. I literally get to leverage my 2 degrees. And I had no idea that this was a thing because it wasn't a thing until I decided I wanted it to be a thing. And if there's any take-home message from my story, I hope it is, whatever your thing is, whatever 2 points that don't look like there's a straight line. You did geometry in 4th grade, right? There's a straight line between any 2 points. I don't know what it is for you, but if you want to ask a question, start to file those questions in the comments below, because I think there's a straight line between any 2 points, and I would love to help you find it. Success for me from this talk today is hearing from one of you in the audience, one of the 150 people listening or the people on the podcast, and you emailing me 3, 5, 7 years from now and going, I remember that talk you gave, and I can't wait to tell you what I've done. That to me is success. I'm just going to be sitting there like this. Go, tell me what you did. What did you bring together to help the profession or to help people or both? That to me is success. So here are the questions. So feel free to drop questions in the comments. We can get specific. We'll bring you onto the show because the rest of this is kind of interactive. This is a question that we got from Nikaya and from Carrie. We asked you guys to all kind of ask questions about or let us know what you wanted to walk away. This was one of the themes that popped up. How do I make the public understand? And several of you was like, how to make the public understand how physical therapy can benefit their lives. Valid. That's a good question to ask. How do I make the public understand what I can offer as a physical therapist? Valid question to ask. Now, guys, a professor's never going to put a question on the final. This is the final exam, by the way. Never going to put a question on the final that they haven't reviewed the material. How do you make the public understand? What was the first thing that I did in this presentation? The first thing I did, I had some fun. I played some goofy music. I got your attention. That's a trick, by the way. That's an attention trick. And I'll use this gag every day because it works. But my goal from getting your attention was I wanted to find out more information about you. So I could figure out, like, is this going to fall on deaf ears? Is this what they want to know about? So the first thing I did was ask Nikaya and Carrie, I want to know what they want to know. So I would say if I break it down into little quotes, into social media bites, listen like your audience talks and talk like your audience listens. I'm going to say it 2 more times because this one's important. Listen like your audience talks, talk like your audience listens. If you are using TikTok and you're the audience and I'm trying to communicate with you, TikTok is a completely valid and effective way to communicate. What is the medium that you're going to use? If you're using a medium that your audience doesn't use, you're never going to get a message to them. I mean, when I say it like that, it's like, oh, well, duh. But I like saying it like this. And I like to lead with listen. Listen like your audience talks, not just where they are with TikTok or Instagram, but how. How do they communicate? What do they talk about? In what ways? How often? These are all the 6 W's. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Listen, I heard the presentations all day at this symposium. Nothing sexy was shared today. It was the basics, and that's how you get the results. So how do you make the public understand? First, understand them better. Ask questions instead of walking in and saying, I am a doctor of physical therapy, and I have 17 certifications, and I know exactly what's wrong. Do you understand them at all? If you pulled that move, throw it to a bar situation, and you're trying to get the attention of someone you find particularly attractive, and the first thing you do is tell them about you and how great you are, and then the second thing you do is tell them about you and how great you are, and the third, you get the idea. You're probably not getting their attention. You need to get their attention first, right? What's that cliche? No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. That's the way you show caring. If you want to appear interesting, that's probably what we want, right? We want people to know, like, man, I went through so much school and I care about this so much. Oh my God, I'm so passionate about it. If you want to appear interesting, be interested. See what I'm doing here, guys? The answers are usually in the question. If you want to create something remarkable, and I love this word, if you need an author, if you like to read like me, a guy by the name of Seth Godin, he loves using this word remarkable. And I was like, I don't know, it's just like remarkable. It's like good. Remarkable means worthy of making a remark about. Even in a digital world like this, you commenting and resharing or retweeting, that's like making a remark. This is so good, I am going to stand behind it by sharing it. That doesn't just have to be digital. If you want to create something remarkable, word of mouth, how great this therapist that came out of Lynchburg University was, you need to say and do things that are worthy making a remark of. And that can come in so many different ways. You look, how can I add, we like to call it the exchange of abundance mindset. How do I walk away with this interaction today with these students from Lynchburg? How do I leave them feeling like they got out of sitting through some random radio guy's presentation for 45 minutes? How do I feel like I got more than I had to give? Because time and attention is a commodity. So I would say if you want to create something remarkable, say and do things that are worthy making a remark about. Another theme that came up was asking about the future. And I alluded to that. What's going to happen in 5 years? 2020 is what? If you want to change the future, you got to change the present. You got to start doing it now. You got to make that future. And I'll be honest, it's not going to be easy. It will be worth it. It will. I was a half a second away from pushing that button and just bailing out of PT school. I was out. I'm done. I didn't. Was it hard? Yeah. Was it a straight line of success? No. Is it still hard? Yes. If you want to stand out, you have to stand up. I don't think that's probably going to be more important than right now with everything that's going on in the world. And by everything, I mean diversity, equity, and inclusion being a major conversation. This can't be a hashtag that fades away, right? It can't be. It cannot be. So if you want to stand out, stand up. And if you want to be seen as someone with something to offer, offer something, right? Get their attention. Some people like when I tell this story, and I'll tell it real briefly. To get my first job in radio, you send demo tapes, demo CDs. Kids were just emailing MP3 today. I tried to cut through the clutter. I'm like, okay, who is my audience, right? There's step one. My audience is a radio program director who has a desk just filled with piles of CDs, and he's got stuff and he's busy. How do I get him to pay attention to me? I need his time. I need his attention first. So I took a box. I put my resume, my demo CD, and an electronic item in the box, closed the box, wrapped it like a birthday present, pink balloon wrapping paper, put a bow on it, and sent it to a radio station I wanted to work for. You're telling me you're busy during your day. You get a wrapping paper gift brought into you from the UPS guy. You're not going to open that first? So I don't know what happened in that room, but he opens the box. He sees the resume and the demo CD, and out falls a burner phone. One of those phones that you can put like money on, right? Just for a few minutes. With one number programmed in that burner phone. Guess whose number that was? So I get a call. Is this Jimmy McKay? Yeah, that's how I got my first job interview in radio. I thought from the audience's perspective, the audience can be of one. Most of the time as a physical therapist, it will be. I thought for the audience at one, how can I get this person's attention and what is of value? I knew they had an opening, but I needed to cut through the clutter. So That's my little story about paying attention. How do you get the public to pay attention? How do you get the person in front of you to pay attention? Another theme, how can I stand out in my community and my profession? We touched on some of those in the first point. These are from you. And if you have other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And we can get really, really granular if you want. It comes up multiple times in terms of like, how can I stand out in my community and my profession? I don't know what that means to you. This is a really open-ended question. How do I stand out? Like, I don't know. But for me, I learned this lesson from a physio who's also has a job which gives him permission to be innovative. And he gave me this brilliant definition of innovation. People, when you hear innovation, what do you think? What are the pictures that come in your mind? Technology and phones and apps and exoskeletons and lasers and force plates. That's this guy's world. He does research in all those things. Using gaming. He launched an esports team that competes worldwide that is completely staffed by persons who have cervical spinal cord injuries. They're all quadriplegics. The name of the team is called the Quad Gods. That's where I got this guy's definition of innovation. And you want to know what it is? Of course you do, because you're still here for some reason. Innovation is seeing a problem that everybody says, not my problem. That's not my problem. It's the elephant in the room. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to walk around this elephant. I'm going to ignore this problem. Everybody's doing it. No one's addressing this problem. You see that problem, you solve that problem. That's innovation. It can be innovation on a small scale with someone's life, although in their scale, that's very, very large. Or it could be an innovation in a profession. Look at the problem. Everybody is looking at this like it's all. I'm not going anywhere near that problem. Identify, own that problem, solve that problem. That is innovation. That's how I think you could stand out in your community and your profession. Gaps exist. If you want to make a meaningful mark, solve that problem. Well, I would tag on this too. A lot of times people don't feel like they have permission to solve problems. You've seen that What Would You Do segment with John Quinones. And it's great. They set up all like the cameras and they put people in awkward situations. They watch how they react. And we do, and myself included, like if you're in a busy mall, remember when we used to go to malls with people in public and someone falls, there's some people who run right towards it to pick that person up, right? And there's some of us like, you can actually, you've done this move, right? You're like, do I break this veneer of like, am I supposed to be doing this? Someone just fell. Yes, please help them. But sometimes there's this weird like psychology thing where we're like, am I allowed to solve these problems? Yes. I did it too, though. I asked my professor, I asked my classmates, should I start a podcast? If podcasting is your thing, you could start one before the sun goes down today. If that's your jam. I'm not saying do it or don't. What I'm saying is you don't need permission to do the thing to change your profession or your community. And your community and your profession need people to do that. And I'm going to repeat it one more time. You don't need permission. If you got that weird feeling in your gut that this is a good idea, and it's still there after a few weeks and a few beers, you don't need permission to solve that problem. That's innovation for me. Finally, the last thing that had come out in terms of themes that you guys had set forth came up a lot, especially when I asked the question, what does 2020 or what does 5 years from 2020 look like? How do we find hope in this? And I love this phrase in quotes, unprecedented time. I swear to God, if I hear unprecedented time, that cliche, like one more, I'm going to freak out. Yes, we understand it is unprecedented. I agree. But just stop using that line. That's why I put it in quotes. But that was the question. How do we find hope in this? Ironically, there are some people right now who graduated from PT school, people I work with that I'm close with, looking at you, who can't find a job right now. It is hard. I have never been through, it's unprecedented, people. We've never been through this. So it will not be easy, but it will be worth it. I think this is a great reset time. It's been wiped clean. People use the phrase, got to go back to the drawing board. Even just how my voice changed when I said that. Got to go back to the drawing board. Oh, man, they had a problem. They had a setback. Have to go back to square one. And they say both of those things like it's a bad thing. I love those things. I love them because I like to create. I mean, I sit here with dry erase boards. That's how I wrote this talk today. Dry erased it. I love square one because here's the thing about square one they don't tell you when they say, got to go back to square one. You are going back to square one or going back to the drawing board with more information than you had the first time you were there. You are now forewarned and forearmed. You are ready to go. I think it's a giant opportunity for our profession, right? I mean, people are going to argue about reimbursement rates, how we get paid in this profession. They're going to talk about that all the time. This is an opportunity to redesign it in the middle of this. There's so much chaos going on, they won't even notice you're doing it. They won't even notice. And do I even need to ask you if you think you need permission to do it in whatever way you want? I'm not even going to answer that. I'm not even going to justify that with a response. So I look at this as like a giant opportunity to change fundamentally what you're able to do. I can't get specific because I don't know who I'm talking to right now, but I'm talking to you. If you're still listening and you're like, okay, it's an opportunity for us to completely fundamentally change for the better, hopefully, in this unprecedented time. Damn it, I did it again. I said it one more time. So those were the points. Those were the things I wanted to make sure I got across. And I want to say thank you for allowing me to do it here. If there's anybody who had a question, let's do that. It's long. I couldn't even read it. Amanda says, if you had the idea for your job that doesn't exist, what advice do you have for bridging the gap? Another term I don't like, but I like where you're using it. From dreaming the job as an idea to actually making it happen. Let's get Amanda in here. Can we give Amanda the code? Because I want to hear more information. Especially as a new grad, I'm not sure I'll have the skills or expertise to create a job that isn't yet established. Man, I think you do before we get Amanda in here. And Amanda, just check. We're going to drop a link in the comment section below that'll actually get you to come on screen. I love questions like this. We got a few minutes, I think. I don't know. You guys can bail if you want. I mean, you're all at your own houses. No, the professors aren't going to know if you duck out early. But this is what I dig, right? Given some of my story and then hearing what they process and then hearing their specific questions. So I want to dig in to more to Amanda's. But I love stages like this because I literally look at myself as kind of like the unlocker of opportunities. Nakaya, I bring you back in unannounced just because for me there for a while it was a little weird just kind of talking to myself. Was that what you thought? What you wanted? Nothing. I mean, saying no is not an insult because I like doing things people don't expect. But
oh no, this is exactly what we wanted. We were just looking forward to something that was exciting, interactive, and just basically talking about the profession and what we can do as students. And I think you did just that. Cool.
I like the fact that you're wearing headphones actually larger than me. All right, there's Amanda. Amanda, what's up?
Hi.
Whoa, bonus points with the Star Wars background, the original. Sure. All right, so what do you mean by that? Like what? Like so let's get real specific. We'll get granular, right?
Okay.
What is that dream job for you?
So I was a gymnast all my life, and there's a lot of like common PT problems that happen with gymnasts. I have a lot of friends that are old gymnasts like myself that have the same issues, the same pains, the same things going on. And so I really have a dream of like collaborating with local PT clinic, or not PT clinics, oh my gosh, gymnastics teams, and becoming the PT for them and prehabbing them, finding the things that are happening when they're teeny tiny little baby gymnasts and working on those things. So when they become adult gymnasts, there's not these same problems, but that job is not yet real.
Why? Because it sounds like you figured out the audience. Like literally, like let's go back through my talk, which is not complex. Like you know the audience because you speak the lingo, you know how they communicate, you know their problems because those have been your problems. That's point A. And you've got point B. What year are you at Lynchburg?
A second year.
Second year. I like how you say second year, not only second year. I like that. Own the second year. What's the problem from drawing a line? Is it fear? Do you think you would legitimately be able to solve some of those people's problems? Do you think it's valuable enough for them to pay you? Can you think of a valid reason why you shouldn't do it? All right. That'll be $60. I love this idea. People do this. I mean, you're saying this job doesn't exist. I think it does.
It probably does.
It does. Like other people made this their job, right? Will it be scary? Yeah. Because it's different, right? Because I get it. Like going to work at a clinic, you sign up day one. It's like, here's health insurance. Here's a check. Here's a place to come. Here's a W-2. Blah, 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 blah. Here's dental. I understand that going out on your own is very scary. It is. Launching a podcast is very scary. But do you think, like at the end of the day, how would you feel if you were doing that 8 hours a day?
That would be my 100% dream.
Like, think about what we're saying right here, Amanda. Like, this is your 100% dream. You put that numeric value on it. This is your 100% dream.
Mm-hmm.
If you can give me a good reason why you shouldn't do it, I will give you permission to not do it. But if you can't, so here's what I would do. Do you want to know what I would do? Because
yes,
like I would figure out who's doing it, and I would ask to buy them virtual lunch, and then just say, "This is my," and then here, like, tell me about you. I always like, tell me about you. Tell me about you. And then when they start spilling, and eventually they'll get around to, tell me about you, Amanda. And you'll go, my 100, say it just like that. This is my 100% dream to help gymnasts get better and prevent being injured, because I love working with these people. I can't wait. This person will either hire you immediately or lead you to success. They just will. They will. Are you going to do it now?
I mean, yeah, I have to graduate first, pass the MPTE. I went to that lecture today.
Yeah. So Carrie's saying, look, right there, you better email me in 5 to 7 years. Faster. Let's do it. I like where Carrie's going here, but faster. You're a second year. I want to hear you in 2 years what you've been doing. I want questions to you. If you want to stick around, I mean, I'm literally in my bedroom here. So thank you guys for coming to my room and not getting crumbs on the floor. But I would love to bring somebody else on the show, just like we dug through with Amanda. So you know what, Juliet, just share that link with anybody. Whoever wants to click. We'll put half a dozen of you guys on the screen, because I feel like it was a permission thing for Amanda. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, you made a fail. What else?
I don't know. I feel like as a new grad, like there's so many things that I'm going to have to learn and so many things I'm going to have to get better at before I can go to a team and market myself as like, I know I can help your gymnast, because I mean, I'm not there yet. I'm not finished my coursework. Sure. So I think it's a knowledge and then a permission thing. Okay.
Well, yeah, you weren't going to do it now. Well, you got to graduate. What if you did it for free? Would you feel like it would be okay if you did it for free? 1 day a week? So it's like, it's a value proposition for you. It wasn't even a skill. You were like, because I took free out of it. I didn't say you got smarter. I know you're going to get smarter, but I didn't add knowledge. I took away money. This is a getting paid what you're worth issue. And we all work with this. This is difficult. Do it for free. And then when you're like, I am actually good. Honestly, Amanda, this is a you believe in it question. I think this is a permission question. This wasn't by accident. And Amanda's not a plant. We've never met before, correct?
No.
No. She's like, I have no idea those guys. I love answering questions like this. Yeah, I mean, Anissa points out here, sometimes it's about saying it out loud. Like, look at this, Amanda. Maybe we'll just focus on Amanda.
Oh, that's okay. Somebody else can do this.
If someone else wants to jump in, cool. We put the link in the comments. But like, everybody's like, you can do it. Is there anybody, like, there's not one person telling you it's too scary to do it. And if they do, it's because they're scared. People told me not to launch. I had a person very close to me tell me not to launch a podcast.
Oh, no.
Because it would take time away from my studying. And then I was like, do you understand how much research I do before I go into an interview? Like, I'm doing more. Honestly, looking back, it was insecurity on that person's part. It really was. I mean, and I know this person said it almost in a caring way, but sometimes we got to push past that. Amanda, I want an email. Jimmy@ptpintcast.com.
Okay.
I'll even do this. I'll throw the phone number up there. That's my cell phone number.
That is okay.
If you think it's a Google number and he's messing around, it's not. That's my phone number. Blow it up if you want. I'll put in touch with people who are doing it. Like, who would be a dream person for you to be in contact with?
I'm not sure.
Okay, let's figure it out. We got the Google. Because how many times you run across a PT in this profession, professor, clinician, researcher, when you reach out, and by all means, play the student card. This is the time where I say, play the card. I'm just a student. I'm just trying to learn. Because that's one thing we all have in common. That's knowing your audience, finding common ground. We've all been students. Oh man, when I was a student, I was rough, man. If I can help in one small way, and they'll do it. So drop me a text, drop me an email. We'll work on Amanda, and then we'll reconnoiter back in a year or two at the Lynchburg Physical Therapy 5-year reunion, and you're going to do the keynote then.
Oh, okay.
You're going to have your 100% dream job.
That would be amazing.
It will be amazing. See what I did there?
It will be amazing.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys letting me do this. I know I ran over time, but the phone number, blow it up. The email address, do it. If you want to take a listen to the show, it's on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, whatever. It's called PT Pintcast. just as some knowledge, we also have a sister show called NPTE StudyCast that gives free free little short 3, 5, 7-minute episodes to pass the NPTE. So we do that for free because I don't have enough going on in my life. But Amanda, thanks for letting us bring you on here. It's bold of you to come on.
Oh, thank you for doing this. It was really cool.
Cool. All right. May the force be with you. All right, guys. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Guys, thank you guys so much for letting me do it. This is how I get my own motivation through the day. I play crowd cheering for myself. Micaiah, Carrie, Lynchburg. We'll see you again soon. Cheers.